All good. Andre,
Hello.
thank you so much for coming, for being part of this.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start with this question that I've been asking, myself. Why is everyone running now?
Do you know what? Apart from the Gen Z, the Gen Z population latching onto movement, off the back of lockdown, fitness is key. Everyone wants to look fit, everyone wants to be mentally fit, and everyone wants to just be fit. So I feel like running has been the outlet for people who may be working in the 9-to-5s in the office, or people at school that may be struggling with just being still, whether it is exams or whatever. Getting outside, being active, going for a run is definitely the outlet now, and has been throughout the whole of summer, which has been really good.
I'm talking about on TikTok. I cannot scroll without seeing someone like, come with me as I go to a run club. And I'm thinking, where have these run clubs and running and people streaming and vests and where's it? It does feel like it's come out of nowhere. And I know I'm not the only one listening to this. Like, I keep seeing running videos everywhere.
Yeah. Definitely. Do you know what? I've seen the trend grow over the years. I've been in the industry for, I'd say, 10 years now. So I've gone from this side of the spectrum where there was maybe 4 or 5 running clubs in London to now having hundreds. And I would say, again, out of lockdown, people set up these support networks for people to vent, feel comfortable, to release all this energy. And they've realized that there's so many different ways to have greater outcomes. So whether that is individual performance, financial gain, marketing, in terms of improving their marketing skills or just getting themselves out there visibly as creators, etc. I think running has given so many like extra powers to people that they wouldn't have seen before, which, I'm a runner, so I'm here for it.
I mean, it's funny. I'm talking about all this running, right? But we just started a run club. We just started a run club as well. So I'm part of this wave. I just wonder if it's a fad, if you think it's something that's gonna stay for a while. There's a lot of rhetoric online about whether run clubs are even really run clubs, or are they just,
100%.
Dating apps? I've been told. Are they just ways? What?
Yeah.
What's your take? Have you had any marriages from your run club or any?
Not that I know of yet. We've had a lot of relationships.
Okay.
But we're a family group, so that's not our push. Our push
Okay.
isn't for relationships. We have good relationships overall, but there's loads of run clubs that may have ulterior motives to meet your partner, or
It's a good way to meet someone, though. I would say
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, but it also puts up barriers. There's a lot of people that just want to run. They want to turn up and run. If you've got people that are there looking for the love of their life, and you've got people wondering how they want to look, and it makes people feel uncomfortable. So there are run clubs out there with that motive, but I don't feel like that's like the general focus.
Correct.
Yeah.
The reason why I was really excited to have you on here obviously isn't just to talk about dating and the run clubs, but to talk about fitness more generally. You're an athlete, you're a coach, you're a traveler. I'm interested in that last part.
Yes.
I guess this episode is really for anyone who's maybe starting their fitness journey or looking to sort of, one of my younger brothers the other day told me about this sort of winter arc thing, right? This sort of, in the winter, you lock the doors, you get in the gym, and this is when you transform your life, as it were. So, this episode I'm hoping is really for anyone who's on that journey of thinking, how do I get healthier? How do I, take my fitness seriously? So to that end, the first question is, if someone's looking to start their fitness journey, right, from your experience, from the people you coach, what's the first thing they got to think about? Or what's the sort of most important first step they can take to just start, on their fitness journey?
Do you know what? It's super simple. Just getting a pair of comfortable shoes. Doesn't have to be trainers at first, just a comfortable pair of shoes, and just going outside. If you're not comfortable with being outside, this is where you have to lean on your community, whether it is someone you want to walk with or a group that you may know or family or friends, to just be outside and be comfortable. Once you're comfortable outside, you can then start to move and start to jog. And with that, I always say for beginners, it's always nice to jog and be in public. And this is quite controversial because as a beginner, you always try to hide away from what you're doing or what other people see you doing. And by saying this with runners, it can be quite dangerous. So you want to be seen and you want to be heard. And also, when you're a beginner, you are also super inspiring. So if you turn up in these places, these public places, and people see you trying and working hard, people are going to latch on and want to try and do the same things. And that's just how, it'll be a domino effect. But essentially with beginners, it's just being comfortable, being uncomfortable. I've got my own movement community, Mafia Moves, and what I try and encourage people to do is whether you turn up to my community and run the first session, you can just come and just stand next to me and just chill and get a feel for the community and the vibe and the movement before you actually jump in. Or you can try a session, go and try another community, come back and just figure out and see what works for you. Because as a beginner, you have to be willing to get it wrong as well. As adults, and the older we get, we're very prideful and we don't tend to want to do anything wrong or get things or ask for help. And in running, you have to ask for help and you have to be willing to learn. You have to almost be a sponge. Yeah. So I've been in the game for a while and I'm constantly learning every single day, constantly learning, whether that is my fitness journey or my personal journey. And I only learn through having conversations with people. So, yeah.
I mean, that's really good. I love that you've simplified it because I remember speaking to one of those, is it karate? What's the one where you get belts? I think it's karate. Yeah. And I was speaking to one guy, I think it was a green belt or brown belt, whatever it was. And I was asking him, like, what's the hardest belt to get in karate? And he was like, it's the first belt. And I was like, why? And he said, because, that shows you kind of got started. And once you're in, getting the next belt is sort of pretty straightforward. You just kind of improve, you get better. But that first belt is the one people never get because they basically never start, as it were. So the reason why I guess I was really interested in that first step is because everyone listening to this, there's the amount of times you're driving and you see someone running and you're like, I should run. 100%. But you never actually do it, right? Or you're like, you see someone there ripped and you're like, wow, I should get ripped, right? But you never join the gym. Exactly. It's always whatever. Yeah. And now that we've got the new year sort of around the corner, whenever this comes out, I just feel like we're going to have another wave of New Year's resolutions that might... I mean, what's your take on that then? If someone goes, you know what, okay, I'm going to start running, I'm going to make it my New Year's resolution. Like, what's your general thoughts on New Year's resolutions?
I don't mind them. I know a lot of people say, why wait until the New Year's to start something new? But I think mentally, some people may be in a different place and they use the start of the new year as a fresh slate. So I'm here for it. I like the fact that you're willing to reset. And I'll always be there to help someone if they want to start on January the 1st or if they want to start on January the 10th or whenever that is. It's always nice to have a mindset reset and just have your eyes and your mindset focused on your end goal. And it's just working on the in-between bits and sort of working with people in your community to get from A to B to C to D.
Yeah. I was having one of these debates as you do with friends about New Year's resolutions because I used to love them. Like I used to genuinely love a new year because it's just like a new. I don't know what it is, but it feels like there's just. I mean, it's because I travel as well, but the new year it just feels like there's something new.
Yeah. New year, new me.
This new energy, this sort of thing, right? But I'm sure I'm not alone in terms of setting resolutions it not happening. I guess one of the things I always think about is, imagine if you went to the doctor, say, and you stepped in and the doctor's like, I'm so sorry, mate, you've got something really bad. Like you've got some disease and you need to change your diet. Now. It would be very odd for you to go, let's say they told you in October, you're like, wow, this is life-threatening? And you're like, okay, I'll save it to the new year. Like, you
100%.
Immediately, you'd be like, yo, I need to... So do you reckon the bigger issue is like the motivation? Like, what's the why?
I think it is. I feel like I'm only going to talk about this country, but in terms of this country, I think we're quite lazy.
Oh.
Because we don't put our health first. I feel like our jobs are more important than our health. Well, I know it's changing slightly now. People are starting to home in on mental health and how much it's actually affecting their physical and their personal lives. So they're trying to make a change and do more about it. But I feel like health and fitness and well-being should be at the forefront of our lives before work. And I get it, you need to work, you need to earn, you need to live. But doing something for 10 to 15 minutes a day isn't that time consuming. You know, whether you take the train to work, but instead of taking the train to work, you walk a couple of train stations. You've got your steps in for the day, and then you can make your way to work. It's just having that mindset shift of not putting things off, or not being too big of a task, or being too long, or oh my gosh, no one else is doing it, so I'm not going to do it, or putting it off again. You know, it's that motivation. If you don't change, no one can change for you. You're going to have to change for yourself.
Correct.
So you need to unlock whatever it is that's stopping you in your mind to say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. You need to just do it now.
Correct.
You know, and the more you procrastinate about it, is the more you're going to put it off.
I just find, I mean, I believe that wholeheartedly. And I think just the more, in my experience anyways, the more you dig down into why you're doing something. So if you've got children, you're thinking, I want to be around for as long as possible. Yeah. I want to be active so I can keep up and be able to kind of stay with what it, like all when you dig down, and that's the reason you're going to the gym, and not just because you'd like to look a bit fitter or whatever it is. These motivations that just aren't really and that's why I bring up the New Year's resolution thing, because you know, if you have to wait to the new year, not saying it's bad, but you probably need to maybe dig deeper into what's the real driving force. But because it's one thing to know your reasoning to go, okay, the new year is like the easiest time to start, which is fine. But that motivation point, it strikes me as quite important if you're going to start.
And it has to stick.
Yeah.
It has to stick. It can't be so far-fetched that it's unattainable, but it's got to stick deep that it reminds you daily of your why. And
what's your why, out of curiosity? Like, why do you run? Why are you out there with these?
My why changes quite a lot, but essentially my big why as to why I'm still running and why I do what I'm doing is because I want to be the change that I want to see. So I can't have any off days where someone sees me and they're like, I want to be like him, but I'm not actually modeling the attitude or the attributes that I want to see in the future generations, if you know what I mean. So I used to teach. And
really?
Yeah, so that's another string to my bow. I used to teach, so I've taught primary education and secondary education. And every single student I came across, whether you were black, white, whatever, and boys and girls, and it was like, how do you want to be perceived in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? And I used to explain to them, I'm not far off you guys in age. So what I'm doing isn't far beyond you guys. You guys just need to model your behavior. And it didn't always mean, you know, the physicals or tucking your shirts in and whatever. It's how you carry yourself. You know, you're raised with manners. You're a representation of your parents and your family. So when you are in these public settings, you're representing not only yourself, but your school, your family, etc. And that's how I sort of dig down into my why. When I'm out and about, I'm representing my family, I'm representing my community, I'm representing my heritage, my culture, and this exactly is why I still run. So you've started a running group. When you get to that start line of races, you'll notice, depending on where you are, London's very diverse, but the more you travel and the more you move out, you realize that there aren't as many people that look like you at these races. And to me, growing up, it was really difficult because I didn't feel like there was a space for me in this environment. But now, and as things have evolved, it's almost like fire to me. I love it because I'm like, right, no one else looks like me, but if I'm running past someone that looks like me, they're going to want to jump in because they see someone that looks like them. And I was in Oxford on the weekend, I raced, and I was actually the first black person to finish.
No way.
Which I was like, that's
crazy.
Never happened to me in my life.
Yeah.
But I was like, do you know what? I saw people watching and cheering. They didn't even know me. But they saw my name and they were cheering like we'd known each other for years. And that just gave me so much motivation to get to the finish line as quickly as I could. Even when I was passing a couple of brothers and stuff, I was like, come on, like, come with me, let's go. And yeah, it just kept me going. And that is my why, to just keep representing and, you know, being the change that I want to see.
You know, I think it's so wild that the number of black people that actually take part in these events. Like, I remember when I did the London Marathon last year, I remember, because I'm a nerd, I remember going on the stats to see how many, like, the age group and who got involved, etc. And one, it shocked me, like, a lot of young people just don't run. Like I'm seeing I'm seeing like all these like over 30s and sort of 50. Like they just make up the largest quintile, which I was quite shocked by. But when you got to the black people, I was thinking, where are the black people?
Yeah, still under 1%.
This is it. And I thought, why are we not run? Like, what's going on? Like, why is it that black people aren't running marathons?
It's interesting, and that's the question I still ask myself.
Because we be winning it when it comes to to like the world champion. You know, we don't play around.
Yeah, the sprints, and then at the elite level, but it's that middle ground. It's that, you know, whatever you want to call it, the recreational runner. Why are we not getting involved? And I feel like it's because growing up, you don't see people on the TV that look like you, and if they do look like you, our lifestyles are very different that you can't really relate. So, you know, you've got, for example, the Kenyans and Ethiopians that are absolutely outstanding, but their way of living is very regimented. So they haven't really got the same struggles that we have in our sort of society. They may have their own struggles, but our struggles are very different.
Correct.
So, for example, with myself growing up in Edmonton and Tottenham, as runners,
it's rough.
Like, what do you mean?
Edmonton's rough.
So, like, growing up, if I told you stories of how I had to train, like running down the motorway, or waking up and running at like 4 a.m. in the morning because, you know, the shotters are going inside and you're just running the streets around with the drug users, you know, and that's the harsh reality I had to face because parks aren't safe. You need to run somewhere public and lit. And for me, I already had, my mindset is very set. So I knew my goal and I knew what I wanted to achieve. But there are many people that may not see that and be like, right, these are the cards I'm dealt. I don't live anywhere near green spaces or nice environments where I can run, so I'm not going to run. It's not for me. Or I don't see people running. Because when people do see me running, or used to see me running, they'd be like, why is he running? Is he running from something, or is he running to something?
Has he just done something?
Yeah. And it used to happen all the time. And even with my community, people used to come, police was called and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, we're just running. We're just trying to do something positive. It's just ironic that there are a lot of people of colour in a group running. So yeah, I think we still got a lot of work to do, but like it's improving from where we were a couple of years ago. We're constantly improving, and we just need to keep showing people, especially on TikTok and stuff like that, all these social media platforms where people are homing in on now that movement is for everyone, regardless of what you look like and the cards you're dealt.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, we talk about representation all the time, and I think sometimes people can roll their eye and be like, oh, you know, it's a Black History Month thing. But it is crazy how seeing someone run makes you think you can do it, right?
100%.
The only reason I signed up for that first marathon was because, one, I had a sciatica sort of trapped nerve a few months before. I remember thinking to myself, this is the most unfit I've been in years. And I thought, you know, I want to do something to really sort of get back. And probably I would have done swimming or whatever. But it was going and watching, who was I watch? There's a guy, he won't know this actually. He's been on this podcast as well. I don't know why I didn't bring it up to him. But Manny, like Coach Manny.
Oh, of
Manny?
course, I know Manny very well.
So I remember seeing some video on Instagram of him running or doing something. And I thought to myself, let me do a marathon. I used to do cross country when I was younger. Let me do a marathon, whatever. So seeing him was what made me do it. And there's no doubt when I did my marathon last year, whenever it was, I remember vlogging before and kind of talking about it. And there was people who, I was speaking to a guy in Toronto just last week. And he was like, yeah, I won't lie, seeing you do your marathon and training for it just made me do it. And he's done like a marathon now, he's signed up for another one. You know how it goes. Once you got the bike,
addictive.
You're like, okay, where's the next one?
It's very addictive.
So representation really does matter as 100%. Much as it might be oversaid.
Yeah.
It's very true that you really have to see someone step out. And so I can't imagine the countless amount of people who've stepped on a track or who've decided to put on running shoes because they saw you. Which is amazing, isn't it?
Maybe, yeah, 100%. And it's like, I'm always inspired. So again, it goes like, leads to my next thing, traveling. I first went to New York. First time in America to run a marathon.
You did the New York Marathon?
Yeah.
I want to do it so bad. But the time is terrible. It's literally one day after my birthday.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know if I want to be running a marathon for my birthday.
Yeah, that's not a good.
But how'd you compare it to, you done London as well?
Yeah.
How'd you compare it to London?
I would say it's like London on steroids.
No way. Yeah. I've been told London's better.
If you're a London born and bred,
correct,
of course it's better because there are a lot of locals that know you. But New York is wild.
Really?
Like, it's an experience. It's hard.
Because there's lots
It is really hard.
Hills in there.
But it's great. But yeah, because of representation. It's so like my eyes were opened when I was in New York because I saw so many people from the exact same backgrounds as me having the same problem. So I didn't feel alienated.
Yeah.
I can talk to people about these things and how they overcome challenges. And you had people of all walks of life from, early 20s to people 50, 60-year-olds. So they can tell you all the stories. And, this isn't a black thing or whatever. You've got people from so many different cultures, people that are, from Asian cultures, breaking down barriers, being the first runners in their families and stuff like that. And it's just...
I love stuff like that.
It's inspiring.
Man.
But
Yeah.
the grind that I witnessed in New York, people actually, like I said, putting health and well-being first, that's just part of the daily bread. It's like you wake up, you do your walk, you get your steps in, or you do a run, do a mile, do a couple of miles, go to the gym, and then you start your day. And it gets your mindset right for the week, So 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I think maybe when I'm, when you're leading up to 30, it's such a, every birthday is so, I think when you're after 30, birthdays is just, I think they just become like, I'm 35, I'm 36. So I reckon maybe at 36, I'll get a chance to do New York and then obviously Chicago, whatever. But London, listen, the London Marathon, oh my Lord. I mean, our studio here is on the London Marathon route, as you know.
It is, yeah.
I grew up in this, like my church, I told you already, my church, my school, whatever it is. So when I was running down this road, and I was thinking, I remember going to church, and then they would have closed the road when I was young, and I'm like, ugh, these London Marathon people ruining the whatever. And now here I am running, and one thing that's so odd about running, especially marathon running, so I really thought, because I did it, I wanted to keep it low key. I didn't tell a lot of people. I thought I just have to run, just kind of get on with it. I did not anticipate random people who did not know me from anywhere screaming my name at the top of their lungs, like just shouting, "Let's go!" Like just random people. Yeah. And I thought, wow, this is like, it felt like peak community, where it's like, community is a word that's often said, but like I looked at that, like these people don't know me, and they've given up a Saturday morning to stand outside and just cheer me on. Hand out random Haribos. Yeah. One guy, I remember, was like Jaffa Cake. I was like, Jaffa Cake? I'm in the middle of a marathon, brother. But it was just so cool to see them all, little kids handing out sweets. And I thought, this is London at its best.
100%. It's to run a London Marathon. I'd always say that's got to be on your bucket list for
Big
life.
Time.
Because
I would say
that is probably one of the most life-changing experiences that you'll ever have. It's such an emotional day. It's a long day.
Get to that Cutty Sark, I'm like, yo, we only done.
Yeah. It is a very, very, very long day. But once you get to that finish line and you have that medal around your neck, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
You're part of the 1%, that have completed a marathon. And that shouldn't be taken for granted. And also the legacy you're leaving behind, not only to your friends and families, but again, people that want to aspire to be like you, that may be sitting at home and thinking, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
And you're like, I did it.
Yeah, and there's so many people that you come across on that day that have so many inspirational stories.
Oh gosh, that part.
It is hard. It's hard hitting. It's really hard hitting, and yeah, it's kind of made me start my marathon journey. To run around the world and do all the craziness I'm doing at the moment. So,
well, let's back up, because I think some people may be listening going, marathon, these guys, they lost me. They are way out at sea. Okay, let's go back to that guy who's taking the first step, right? Or that's that woman taking the first step. They've now put on their running shoes. They are now starting. Of course, the hardest thing as well, one of the hardest things I should say, well, I think the hard thing is starting, but then the really hard thing is to continue going, right? Now, one of the biggest misnomers or things that people get wrong about folks who take fitness seriously is that every day you're just motivated to go, and you're just like, let's go, and you just have this gene of motivation that they don't have. The reality, from my experience playing competitive sport, but also now just running and doing bits and bobs, is I think I've actually had more days where I'm not motivated than I think motivated. And so I would love to hear from you, from your experience. How do you get past those days where you're just like, allow it, I'm not finna do 10K today. I don't have 15K in me. Even 5K, you're like how do you get past those days? Because that guy that started is gonna have to do that.
Oh, 100%. And it happens all the time, like you said. It happens to me a lot, and you always have to home in on your why. Why have you set this goal to achieve? And also, once you figure that out, how are you going to achieve that? So when you hit a rocky part of your journey, it's like, how do I overcome that section? So for example, I ran Tokyo Marathon and I got injured.
That's so cool.
It was really cool.
What a flex. You can't just say that and just like roll on like, oh, Tokyo. You know?
It was cool. We'll come
so
back
cool.
to that. And I was injured, but I knew I had to get ready for another race. But I didn't see a way around it. So I was moped around. I had a few weeks off and just to try and figure things out. But I was like, Andre, if you want to get to this end goal, you can't be sitting at home. You can't be doing nothing. By all means, take the intensity down, but you need to be going to the gym. You need to be doing your exercises day in, day out. Because if you get to the end of your journey and you're still hurt, you've got yourself to blame because you didn't do your ABCs in between. And for someone like a beginner, you're going to have the ups and downs, but you have to trust the process. You have to trust yourself. You have to believe in the people around you if you're working with anyone, and you have to remember your why. You have to keep reminding yourself why you're doing this, who you're doing it for, and what you're going to learn from it. You know, if you have a goal and there's nothing that you want to learn from it, then it's hard to keep going when things get tough. You know, you might want to just complete a race, but also who are you trying to inspire? You know, why are you going to go and run 26 miles? You know, and it's just constantly reminding yourself. But again, also remind yourself that you're human. It's okay to have these down days, but you have to have some sort of leverage to get you out of this rut when you do go in it. So of course, in your running journey, you might get injured or pick up little issues or get ill. But it's like, right, I've had these few days off. I need to get back on the train and keep moving. And I ultimately say just surround yourself around a community or around people that can keep you accountable. You know, that's something I've definitely had in my journey. You know, you've got coaches, friends, family that know how much work you put in.
Yeah.
So it's that, especially when times get tough, they're not like, Andre, don't be lazy, come on, keep going. They're like, no, all right, take the time you need, but don't take too long because you know you've got to get back on the train. And yeah, they help so much. So the community aspect of just keeping moving. And I think that's why running is becoming so popular. So people can lean on each other through these tough times because, as you know, people suffer with mental health. And you're not always going to be on your A game as humans. You know, you're going to have down times. You may have a bad week at work and you just need to either vent or have a space to figure things out. And it's just having people around you to keep you accountable and keep you on that journey. Yeah. And in a healthy place.
Yeah, I think it's so good that you mentioned community because that it is that is sort of the black bullet, the silver bullet, whatever the bullet is, whatever color the bullet is. Because I mean, we always talk about this, but I think sometimes again it's lost on people because it's said often is, you know, if you've got a strong why for something, what you want to do as aggressively as you can is build a system, and so. People oftentimes, I think, are shocked by loss of motivation. They're like, why don't I feel like going, like, I'm awake, but I don't want to run, what's going on? And rather than being shocked by motivation loss, you ought to expect it and plan for it. So essentially, have a system for when I've lost motivation, like, what do I do about this? Like, what's the system I have in place? So for instance, if it's a community, so I'll give you one example. The running club we just started, it's relatively new, there's only a few people. This Monday morning, I woke up at 5 as normal. I went to a restaurant the day before. I do not know what I put in my mouth because that morning when I woke up, my belly was doing somersaults and I was just like, I can't run today. That's what I was actually thinking. Now, I was awake, but I just now slowly I started feeling a bit better. But at that stage, it's now like 5:15, 5:20. I'm just thinking I can't be bothered. Now the real reasons I can't be bothered. I messaged the guys. I was like, guys, sorry I can't come like today. You guys carry on, but I'm very tired. To my surprise, one of them said, how long do you think you're going to be? I was like, probably 30, 40 minutes. By the time I'm ready, it'll be too late. They said, we'll wait for you. I was like...
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Packed my bags, got my clothes on. I was there. We still had a run. But I was so happy about that because I thought, that's what having a system for loss of motivation looks like.
100%.
They were going to wait. They were going to call. They weren't going to be like, oh, it's fine. It's going to be like, let's go. Look, can we get you hit? Can I come and pick you up? That sort of thing.
Exactly.
So I think if people can devise in their own life what that system looks like, then they've got something to keep them going even when they lose motivation.
Exactly. And leading to your point, there's so many reasons as to why we shouldn't get up and go for the run.
Oh yeah.
But you should also think of the reasons why you should. Because if you, in your instance, you've got a community waiting for you that are ready to support you. We might have personal fitness goals to reach, you know. These are the reasons. For your mental health, let's have a good start to the week. There's so many reasons as to why you should get up and go. And you've just got to push them out and push the negative ones just away, you know. And that's really good that the community got behind you, man. That's
Mate,
that's
it
great.
wasn't even a lot of people. It was just a few guys, but it was enough.
But that's what
to
makes it
go,
matters. Sometimes when there's too many people, there's too much noise. But if you've got your core, there's a core 5 or 6 people, they're focused on you and you only, which is great, because when you have your bad days, you know there's 5 or 6 people are going to be there for you, and vice versa. You know, sometimes when communities get too big, the values and the beliefs sometimes start to trail out a little bit. But, you know, the smaller you are, strength in numbers, you know, that's what they say. But the less people there are, the more noise is shut out.
Yeah. I mean, this is brilliant. I hope someone listening is like, yes, this is what I need, because everything you're saying, it's just how you achieve, right? You've got to have a community. You've got to come up with a strong why. Whether it's in the winter you're listening to this or you just happen to stumble upon this video or this podcast, these are things you can immediately put into action that will ensure whatever fitness goal you have, you achieve them. Because again, whether you're trying to run sub 10 seconds in for 100 meters, or you're trying to just start swimming again, you're gonna have to start and you're gonna have to keep going.
Yeah.
Right. And then as you keep going, you're gonna have to get good, which is the second. This is the third part, which is now you need to think about stuff like the kind of shoes you're wearing, or your diet and exactly what you're eating. What does fueling look like? What does rest look like, etc. So on that, because you're not just like jogging on a Saturday, hoping for the like you're competing. How's that going? How's your competing going?
That's a great question. So I've actually come away from competitive running for a number of years. So I used to actually compete on the track. And
what did you used to run?
So I used to run 800 and 1500 meters.
Okay.
So mid-distance.
Yeah.
But since sort of stumbling across brands and working with communities over the last 10 years, that is my calling. And I still like to compete. I still like to run fast. But again, with that comes injury. So last year I had 2 stress fractures.
Ooh.
I tried to run 2 marathons in 2 weeks, but that was a learning. And essentially, it was just, I gave myself this big goal, and this was my why initially. I wanted to complete my first marathon before I was 30, and I wanted to do it in under 3 hours. And the second one was to complete all the world majors before I turned 30, which gave me 2 years to complete it in.
That's so wild.
I only managed to achieve one.
Okay.
But the second one I was really working towards, came up a little bit short, but I'm still working towards it. And
what majors left?
Boston.
Okay. And have you got the time?
I did have the time, so I've got to requalify.
You have to requalify?
Yeah.
They don't. Oh, that makes sense.
It expires every 2 years. But that's giving me an extra why.
Fun, from what I've heard.
So yeah, Boston is fun, and that is like the mecca of marathon running. But I was like, instead of me running fast, well, of course I got to run fast to get into that major, but I want to do it on my own terms. I want to still inspire people and show people that you can still have fun and run fast. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Like, it's okay. It's all about the communities I'm building and the stories I'm telling along the way. So even though I've been able to travel to these amazing countries and run marathons and share stories, my own personal journey is wanting to complete Boston, but I have to have a big enough why once I get there, or to even get me to run there, because the time for myself isn't enough. Because some people aspire to run fast marathons, but for me, running fast isn't going to be relevant to my community, in all honesty. Because, if you're fast, you only appeal to the people that want to aspire to be fast, not the people that just want to start. And I just want to show people that my journey now to work towards Boston is going to be the exact same as someone picking up a new pair of trainers and starting to run.
Got you.
We're on the same journey now to get from A to B. So, that's my big journey now, in terms of competitive running. And
So are you gonna like vlog it and document it? Because sometimes I'm like, I know it's long, but someone like you, I just wish you were in like, I don't know if you are on YouTube or you're not, but like, just like, I would love to watch like a day in the life, a week in the life. You know, you kind of summarizing how things are going, just like almost like a video diary. Have you ever thought about doing something like that?
I have.
Okay.
I have, but it's quite difficult. When I'm in my training bag,
You're
I'm
not
like,
thinking of cameras.
I'm
or
tunnel
whatever.
vision. I do not want a camera in my face. But I understand, because people have said, Andre, why don't you vlog? Why don't you share this story? And I'm just like, I'm just so hell bent on getting this session.
I'm
done.
actually a fraud because people be asking me all the time, and I don't do the same. Like I don't do it. I'm like, Mike, you do a vlog, and I'm just like, so, I don't have to it.
But it might happen. You never know. Like if you got a team around you, then you haven't got to worry about all the other little nitty gritty bits and worried about how you look and how you sound and stuff like that.
I don't know how people. There's a tennis guy I watch on YouTube who, I mean, I think he's trying to win like his first ATP point, but he's also vlogging every week, and just haven't done a vlog before. I don't know how on earth he does it, because it is a lot to be filming yourself. I mean, in running, in the case of running, either you're holding the camera up whilst you're running, which is crazy, or you're putting the camera down to run and then pick it back up. It's just like it's just
too much, right?
Too much. Yeah, it's way too much. But I think the point I'm trying to get at is it would be great to see more of you. I think that's it, and to see what you do, right, and see how you do it and how you compete. I love that you said that, you know, for you it's beyond you just running fast now. Now it's about your community and building community and almost using running as a sort of tool for change.
Yeah.
And one of the ways you're doing that is this new program, right, that you're starting. I'd love you to speak about that, because you're going to be going somewhere unconventional to be running with people.
100%. So a big dream of mine was actually to help people that can't help themselves in that moment in time. So yeah, someone threw a curveball at me and said, you know, Andre, would you...
Hold on 1 minute. Before you start that, what's this guy doing? Do you mind stepping outside and just letting him know that we're recording? There's a mechanic down the road there who we've let know that obviously we're a studio, like stop, this is our spot, but he keeps bringing cars here. So I'm just thinking, has he forgotten, or... And now it's gone quiet. Could you just, whoever it is, just let him know that we're recording. Can they just move their car? Is he gone? Huh?
Yeah, I'll be back in like 10 minutes.
We're going to carry on, but just let them know we're recording. Please move your car.
Cool, that's fine.
Wild scenes. So you've said you can pick up from curveball.
Yeah, it's cool. So yeah, I was thrown a massive curveball, and it was just like, Andre, how would you feel about coming into a prison and teaching some inmates how to run? And I was like, I've never stepped inside a prison ever, but I was like, this sounds really cool and really rewarding, not just for myself, but for these individuals, because I can't really relate what it's like to be within the prison system, but I know it's not nice. And there's so much negativity given to these individuals, regardless of whether they're guilty or not, or et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like running is the journey to help them transition to more positive things, because you can only have positives out of running, really. Yes, you may have little injuries and stuff like that, but if you aim towards a goal, it's very achievable, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm really excited to work with these individuals to just be positive and make something of themselves and give them hope. Hope is something that a lot of us tend to give up on, especially when times get tough. We can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I can imagine for some of these people, it's just like, right, I'm inside, it is what it is sort of thing. So I'm really excited for this project, and also I'm on the outside, I'm coaching a lot of people to run their first marathons as well.
So cool.
Which should be really, really cool, because these people are people that have come from non-running backgrounds, either from socioeconomic environments, so whether they can't financially afford it, or from areas where, you know, running isn't big, or from cultures where running isn't big. So it's going to be a really great eye-opener to help these people not only complete their first marathon, but to show themselves that they can achieve something huge. So
yeah. I mean, just so happy that you're doing this, because just it's great work, because I think running is unparalleled, man, for helping people really work out their thoughts and process lots of. It's why it's therapeutic, right? You can process emotion. You can. So I can imagine for someone who's going to be in prison for 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, if they can develop that sort of habit of just processing whilst running, it might really add to that rehabilitative process that prison's meant to sort of have. And we spoke about Made Running already. I know the founder of that, which is a massive running community in Manchester,
huge.
right? He's someone who has a background, I think, in the prison system and running. I don't want to tell his story because I think he might be actually coming on the podcast, but I know that running was a key part of him sort of redeveloping his sort of right mind and you know, personal development and all that sort of stuff. And now on the other side of it, he's got this massive running community he's set up outside
100%.
of prison. So who knows who you're really going to help escape, you know.
And that's it. And there's also another running club based in Birmingham.
Yeah.
A guy called Rudy set up Rocked Up, and you know, we've had some conversations, and it's great to see how, you know, he was once in the prison system himself, and just seeing that transformation, the mindset. I know he reads a lot, and the mindset shift from going inside and being out, because he could have just come out and just gone back to what he was doing.
Yeah.
But he's now channeled that into helping other people and inspiring others to do the same. And it's great what those guys are doing.
Yeah, I love that. And the London Marathon one, I mean, just so people know, because people see London Marathon, they're like, oh my gosh, I could never run a marathon. On average, how long does it take to train for a marathon?
16 to 18 weeks. So, you know, just over 4 months. It is definitely realistic, but once you sign the dotted line, you have to lock in. You have to lock in. There's no cheat in the marathon. There is no cheat in the marathon.
Mate.
Anyone can get to that start line, but it's how you get to that finish line is what that 16 to 18 weeks will determine, you know. So, yeah, it's definitely doable.
Correct.
Definitely. I've seen it happen.
And that's the main thing.
I've seen
It's
it happen.
doable. Because a lot of people hear this and they're just like, ain't no way.
Yeah.
I am running a marathon. And you
Exactly.
go, no, it's very, very
Yeah.
doable. I literally had a trapped nerve at the start. And at the end, it was gone, right? And you know, I was talking to a friend. We were grabbing coffee the other day, and he was talking about sort of he's on a weight loss journey, right? Or he's got a goal of losing weight. But I think it had been the case that I think he's tried a few times and you know, it hasn't quite worked. And one thing I encouraged him with, which I think is really important to consider, is when we set goals, especially fitness goals about the future, sometimes we think we're going to be the same person once we achieve the goal.
Yeah.
But we don't always plan for the fact that achieving the goal actually changes us, right? So let's say you say, I want to lose 10 kg. Well, in your head, you think you're going to be the same person with just 10 kg less.
Yeah.
And that almost never happens.
No.
You with 10 kg less is also a totally different person with a totally different mindset, because of all those times you've had to push past it being difficult. Like you just become such a different. So all these goals, like it's not just a case of running the marathon or whatever marathon it is. You actually become a different person. And that's what's so exciting about all these fitness goals is it's not just a chance for you to be in your same mind but a bit fitter, but you actually change. You become a totally different person. Your approach to food, the way you treat rest, everything changes.
It's a journey, right? It's a journey of getting to know yourself, like deep down. You know, it is, you learn every single aspect about yourself once you lock into a journey, you know, from all the factors you just said. And that end goal is just like a big reflection period, because you're like, wow, I've achieved this goal. Great. But what else have I achieved?
Correct.
What else have I learned?
Who am I?
Exactly. Because just at the marathon, you'll have that medal around your neck, but that medal wears off. It'll wear off. It's like, right, great, I've completed a marathon. But what did I learn throughout those grueling hours that I was running? What do I know about myself now? How resilient am I? If I can translate this to my work life, I'd be unstoppable. You know, and that's what I also try and teach to my community. Running is no different to day-to-day life. From disappointment to being upset, angry, happy, sad, all these emotions you have in life, but you can also have through your movement journey anyway. So it's just understanding that, recognizing that, and finding ways to not cope, but address some of these questions you may have about yourself, so that when it happens again, you know how to deal with it.
So good. This has been great. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. I think there's ample lessons and things for people to take away. So thank you for being part of this conversation. And I mean, we've definitely got to get you back. Maybe after you've done Boston.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. See how it goes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for taking time to watch that video. Here at the Common Sense Network, we thrive on exposing you to different ideas. If you're someone who likes ideas, you like learning new things, hit the subscribe button now and turn on notifications so you're first to hear when we have a new video out.